Okay, so we're going to start a series here on something completely different. I don't know if it'll ever make it on the YouTube, but I've become adept at building regular bench rest guns. 6 PPC, light and heavy, 6x47 Lapua, light and heavy. I expect certain things. I put them together, and right out of the box they're shooting holes, and then I just play with the holes and I tone, and everything's repeatable. Well, this is my first attempt at an unlimited heavy gun. I've really been in the works with it for probably 10 years. And I decided I'm going to start chronicling this thing because it's driving me insane. It does not shoot. I can build a 300 WSM hunting rifle that shoots better than this guy. I've had it at competitions, I've lost miserably. And this is the biggest problem. It's doing something that I call teasing, and I can't for the life of me figure out why. I'm starting to believe that the entire design is flawed. So I'm going to start by going back through my memory banks and recreating the design, recreating why I did what I did, and putting down steps. And again, I have to say this, if it makes it onto YouTube and you start this and you find it boring, please just click away. You know, don't waste your time diddling around with something that I'm doing. Now, if you're doing something similar, or if you've considered a heavy gun, I'm going to make this thing shoot. I will end up making it shoot. I bought good components. These are very good components. I special ordered this action in a big heavy width and a big tall height with the facets so that I could bed it down because it's a 300 WSM. This barrel has been rechambered 3 times. It's never shot. And at first I thought it was this, at first I thought it was that, I thought it was loose, I thought it was, I've gone through a whole host of things, reasons. And as I'm working my way down, my latest thing was that the barrel to stock interface was screwed up. Because that's all I could think of. This right here is a solid block of steel. I know it looks like carbon fiber, but I had it hydro dipped. This is a 5/8 by 2 inch block of solid steel. This is solid steel. This thing weighs, I don't know, 65 pounds or something. And I'm at the point now where I believe the entire design must be flawed. I added this whole carriage down here because when I ordered this stock, it's a wood that's commonly called obichi. It's a plywood product, a laminated plywood product, and it's very, very light. It came through Bill Shahane. And it was in something that he probably designed, Billy being quite the crafty guy. It was called the Big Dog. And this was a Big Dog cut, which means it had a big, beefy, all the way back to here, an enormous pistol grip. It was just a big, solid stock. And so I bought it to support this, and I was going to bed it in there conventionally. Well, I kind of did. And it kicked the snot out of me. And I went, ooh. And it shot okay, but it was, I thought, well, I added parts. I started building parts. I started by building. First, I cut the stock down to a more usable shape because I was going to add weight back into it. This is a design that I call this gun the Terminator. Now, not because it's all that and because it terminates the competition and because I think Terminator is cool like that. It's because it's an android, like the Terminator was in the old Terminator movies. It's an android because before I had the metal on it, I put it together, I bedded it in conventionally, and I was using it, and this pistol grip just snapped. It's severed right off here because the pistol grip is kind of slim after I had it cut down. Not as slim as a hunting gun, but maybe I already had the metal on up here, but the point is I was carrying it, using it, and it snapped clean off. I thought I had destroyed the stock. Well, that was disconcerting. So I added metal, and I added metal from here all the way up to here, and I tied the two together inside the stock. Then I've ended up since then, this metal plate here hooks to this with a kind of an isolation button. This down here is a, again, 5/8 thick or 1/2 inch thick. I think they're all 5/8 by 1.5 inch plate. And then I still got worried about this, so I added this whole lower assembly just to add weight. I'm at the point now where I believe that the mistake occurred when I added this entire lower assembly. As I've gone through, this thing has always been what I call a teaser. And when I first put it together, I shot it to test it for concept without any wood on it. The whole gun bolts together without the wood. The wood is there for a skin, hence the android, hence the Terminator, hence anybody who remembers that the first real science fiction movie in the 80s was Terminator, and in it was Arnold Schwarzenegger played an android, metal skeleton covered. Well, that's what this is. It's a metal skeleton covered with wood so that it looks more pleasant. And I thought maybe the wood would have some damping properties, but really it's just there to look cool. Because I can. I like to work with wood now and again, and I carved this thing and whittled this thing, and it's got some features that I think look cool, and so I did it just for what I call my iteration of coolness, for what that's worth. This was an afterthought. I had a custom bag built. I have the custom bag. I have everything there. So as I'm building, and as this thing is, as I'm getting more and more concerned about it, again breaking or flexing with this heavy weight on the front, the last thing, this was actually, if these video series start to go up, I'm going to be talking about how I made this interface between this and this by milling and machining a block, which we'll probably show you about now. I was convinced that with this heavy under chassis and this heavy upper chassis, basically this chassis here is a continuous metal fixture, metal chassis, metal droppers to a metal bottom, and up on top of here I had fiberglass with isolator buttons and a very conventional bedding assembly done up here with the upper, just the barreled action and scope assembly. And I was convinced that that's what was moving around. So far, all I've ever done with this thing is convince myself that it needs to be fixed and convince myself that maybe I found a fix, and then I have not found the fix. Well, this morning was kind of the culmination of I came in all excited this morning. I really thought I had made a decision that was going to make a difference. I have now a solid metal interface from here to here. The wood is only a skin. And back when I proof tested this thing, back when I put it together, literally 6 or 7 years ago, I just slip fit this to this. I didn't have a recoil lug or anything. I just bolted the two together very tightly. And I think that I may have, no, I just bolted the two together. There was very little interface between this and this. And I went out and fired it with Randy's BIB 112, 118 grain bullets, and it just flat bug holed. This is called, it may not make any sense, but this is called a proof test or a proof of concept. I do this quite a bit when I build a gun. If it shows some funky tendencies right off the bat, I'll go get some super light, even if it's a tight twist. I fired Randy's bullets at 4,000 feet, well, let's not get crazy here, but let's just call it 3,600 feet per second, through an 8-inch twist before. And because the bullets are so well built, it will still group and it will prove concept. Most of the guns that I shoot heavy bullets, and this is why this becomes relevant, because light bullets are easy. Light bullets are for 100, 200, you can buy them by the scats. So when I build, let's just say a 6x47, let's change directions here. I started this with the 243 Ackley when I would get one that didn't want to shoot, on up through the 6BR tight twists, now into the 6x47 tight twists. If I'm fighting one of the isolators that I use, one of the things I use to test for soundness of the system is to put some light known bullets in it. And even though they're spun way up, even though they're hyper wound with that tight twist, they will still tell me things that are useful. Tell me if it's a bullet problem or a throating problem or whatever. And so anyway, this gun, back when I proofed it, I shot it with light bullets. And then I even went up to some 168s or something that were a known quantity at the time. And it shot really, really well. And I thought, well, I don't want to start throwing the heavies in there because it's just got this, basically a slip fit right here. I don't want to, but the concept is sound. So I went ahead and I spent years putting this thing together. Now, after many different fixes, I had a March 8 to 80 on here, and I love this scope. But I was convinced that the scope was moving. I have had 2 other scopes on here because, again, the gun teases. And I was thinking about this yesterday because I need to get this thing up and out of the way so that I can continue on a couple of my projects. This thing's been haunting me. I need to get my big gun figured out, and I don't know anything about big guns. This is kind of like my rail gun. I honestly thought when I got a rail, I bought a good rail, I put that bad boy together, and I honestly figured it would go out there and pretty much bug, and then I would just do some fine tuning and it would be an easy, and I was so wrong. So wrong. That stupid railgun is as hard to shoot and as hard to get working as any other PPC. It's not automatic. It's not. Well, I guess I kind of figured heavy gun would be easy. Boy, was I wrong. Maybe once I get this bad boy tuned up, it'll be easy. But right now, I've never been so wrong. I can't even make it shoot. So, this morning I came down here all fired up. Said, okay, I'm going to just put it up, and if it's rocking around, if the design is flawed, if it's out of balance, if it's jumping back and forth, I'll just hang on to it tight. I can shoot okay hanging on tight. So I'm going to hang on tight and just shoot a few groups and find out what happens when I do that. Well, I found out what happened. It still shot like pig. So now I'm just going to go through and start eliminating variables. I'm going to start eliminating things. I don't know if it's going to work, people. I have no clue. All I know is that I've got a stupid, cool, expensive platform here that shoots like a Model 94-30-30 Winchester. Only I swear I could beat it with the 30-30. And by a 30-30, I don't mean one of these exotic HBR 30-30s, because there's nothing wrong with the 30-30 cartridge. It'll shoot just fine, thank you very much. I'm talking about an old lever action 30-30 with open sights. That's how bad this thing is. I'm just unhappy right now. It's just not working, and I figured I'm going to take it apart on video, just in case anybody's ever wanting to build a big gun and they want just gonna, come on, got my goop all over these screws. They're sticky but they're slippery, because that's the way I do them. So now this goes, and this is heavy. This is a hefty cinch sack here. This is a chunk of meat. It's not some little... I'm going to start taking it apart. I think this stock will hold together just fine. And I guess if it doesn't, then so be it. It won't. But I'm going to go ahead and try shooting it, because there's another conventional... Well, first of all, I guess let's see if this thing will come apart, and I'll show you some of the... That was one of the reasons I wanted to do this, was to take it down on camera and show how I built it from the bottom to the top. And you're not going to learn a whole lot from it, except what not to do, because frankly it doesn't do very well. It's not shooting worth beans. But So what I'm going to do now, this is my, not my last gasp, but hopefully I can get this thing apart before I run out of film. This is, I'm going to turn it back into a conventional gun. I think I've got enough steel through here that I'm not going to snap the pistol grip off again, because that was a pain. Luckily I'm good with wood. I fitted her back together, and you would never know there was a joint there. Even I can't find the joint, and I know where it happened. So it worked. We fixed it. I haven't taken this thing apart since the day I glued it together, and when I glued it together to stay together. Okay, so I think instead of boring you with all of this endless take apart, I'm going to go ahead and shut this down because we're getting up here close. Next time that we come back and take a look, I should have it apart and we can look at what I'm going to do. But basically my plan here is I'm going to take it apart and return it to a conventional gun. I'm going to get rid of this big old slab on the bottom, because right now, I sat down this morning, I held it tight hoping that I could keep it from rocking around, and it didn't work. I don't know if it's flexing, I don't know if it's bouncing, I don't know. I just know that it doesn't work. So I'm going to turn it back to a more conventional situation, which I call 3-point support. 3-point support is a 1, 2, and 3. And this stock is set up for that. I added this just because I also want to play with this in a big 338 configuration for those super windy days, and I thought, well, I don't ever want to snap that pistol grip again. But the way I'm set up right now, steel and steel, and I bored a hole through this piece so that this piece goes through it, and it's actually threaded. I didn't bore a hole through it. So after this is in, I've got a piece of, I believe I used all thread through here, or maybe I threaded the end. It screws into here, and then a tightener goes on the end. This should be this should be good enough that it'll hold just fine. So we're going to go back to where I can shoot it conventionally with the 3 points, a conventional bag in the back, and I'm going to try to find out if this barrel, after all the years of shooting it, is going away. It can't be. It just can't be. There's so many things wrong. It's just a completely unsuccessful build. It is a build that looks way too good for the way it shoots, which is total crap. Or at least I think it looks good. I mean, everybody's tastes are different, but I had all these dreams. I had the whole thing hydro dipped so it looks like carbon fiber. It looks like a big, beefy, lightweight, blah, 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 kind of pretty. And it's in fact super heavy. Oh yeah, here we go. This is coming apart. This will show you my release agent worked here. So this just comes off of here. There we go. We're taking her down, taking her down. So this is a solid plate of steel that goes back. It ties into the action, and now it's tied in with a big, long, notched, serrated section that is bedded and glued together. This should come out of here, and we should be able to see the notched, serrated area under there. But let's not get too carried away till we get this stupid thing shooting. So, hopefully we'll get to see some groups with it here one of these days.